All right, what's going on out there, world? It's your main man, Tommy, on the spot. We got Steve on the other end. Welcome to today's edition of Disney 101, our third edition of the show here, of the podcast. Thanks so much for checking us out. Steve, how are you today?
A little tired. I had a day of planning in my classroom, and then we had an open house for teachers and the class. So it was a late night for me. But other than that, I'm doing well.
When does school season start? Are you already back in the thick of things?
I'm back in the classroom this week, so I've been getting my class ready for everything, but classes with kids and everything actually starts Monday.
Oh wow! Congratulations, then. That'll be cool.
Yeah, we start early down here in Florida.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy. Well, I guess because it's usually pretty hot, so I guess they're like, whatever, may as well get started early. But
we also get out early, so we actually get out right around Memorial Day.
Oh, nice. So that's good. So it's like a bit of a give or take there. You have to go back earlier, but then you get out earlier as well.
Yeah. So.
Well, very, very cool. I myself I'm also a little tired, so I do have my big tall Duncan. Duncan's not a sponsor, but I'm giving them some pub anyway. I'm ready to go. We have a fun show here, a jam-packed show. So I'm going to get into it. Basically, here's what happened. We had talked about what we're going to do for the show, which is our main crux of the show. We're going to kind of be recasting some of these Disney Marvel reboots, kind of a pickup off of what we talked about last week. Disney acquiring 20th Century Fox, getting all those different movies, franchises under their umbrella now, such as X-Men, Fantastic Four, different properties that we spoke about last week. So we're going to get to that. That's going to be kind of the main focus of the show. That being said, there's a ton of stuff that has gone on within this last week. Just a couple days ago, they gave a big list of what to expect this year at annual Photopass Holders Day. Is that what it is? Is it annual Photopass Holders Day?
Well, yeah, it's annual. It's the annual, so it happens every year. Photopass Day, yeah.
I didn't think anyone had an annual Photopass to you could just go to Disney. But I guess if you have a season pass, you'd probably get an annual pass as well, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not anything to do with annual pass holders in that only annual pass holders can do it. They're probably the ones that are more likely to do it because any annual pass holder gets the free PhotoPass downloads or included PhotoPass downloads, I guess. So, I mean, it's more of, and, we're the ones that are local and, at least Florida residents here. So we're the ones that are more likely to take advantage of this kind of event, but it's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. And so they launched the entire guide to that. So we're going to get into all the fun stuff there. I think this is I feel like Disney could actually even do more if they wanted to with these types of deals. So we're going to get into all of that. Also next week, the official kickoff of Halloween 2018 in the Disney parks gets started. So we have a little bit of a guide for that. We're going to get you all started. But before we get to any of that, I just wanted a bit of a follow-up. We had talked about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, James Gunn, the former director of Guardians of the Galaxy, has been fired by Walt Disney World for his role in some old tweets that he has put out. And, I always try to take it back to wrestling. So it was announced this week that Dave Bautista has actually come out and said that if James Gunn is not reinstated as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, that he'll be done with the franchise. So do you feel like this is not a bright move on Bautista's part here, or is this pretty noble on his part?
I mean, you never really kind of want to give a company like Disney an ultimatum, to think that you are indispensable is a very risky move unless your name is like Robert Downey Jr. or, Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth, But I mean, not that Drax isn't an important part in Guardians of the Galaxy, but especially considering at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they showed like the old from the comic, old school Guardians of the Galaxy. If Disney really wanted to move in a completely different direction with Guardians 3, they definitely could. So, it's not that it's not a bright part. It's definitely a great point that he's making in solidarity with James Gunn. But from a career perspective, it's not like Disney can say, "Oh no, please, Dave, come back to us."
Right. I mean, me personally, I feel like all the Guardians have certainly their own following, but I think that the character of Drax, I think Dave Bautista's done a great job with. There's been a number of folks actually in the autism community that have come out and really kind of praised the character for sort of having some of the characteristics that individuals with autism have, and has really kind of been somebody that they could look up to. Is Dave Bautista replaceable? I'm sure he is. I mean, I'm sure they would do fine. They've replaced the Incredible Hulk a couple of times at this point already, so they can definitely do that. I don't anticipate that would be any issue, but I do think it is a bit noble on Dave's part. Dave's whole point here, he's not saying that what James Gunn said was wrong. He's not. It was fine, and that he should not have to apologize for that. He's agreeing that what he said was wrong, but at the end of the day, he's having the back of someone who not only really kind of took a chance on him, but James Gunn also came out after it was announced that Dave Bautista was not the original. There was a rumor going around that Bautista wasn't the original choice for Drax, and James Gunn came right out and said, "That's crap. That's not true. He was my only choice. He was my first choice, and we're thrilled to have him." So I guess because James Gunn had Bautista's back, coupled with the fact that Bautista's come on record and saying that he is looking at retiring sometime soon. I mean, I believe if he's not 50, he's very close to it. So I guess at this point, he's kind of like, hey, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to have my friends back. I don't anticipate this is going to lead to any sort of chance that James Gunn gets reinstated, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and I've heard a couple of different rumors. One was that the script of Guardians 3 was completely thrown out when they fired James Gunn. And then I heard another rumor that, there are like back and forth. It's like, well, he could come back. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. And, at this point, it's until Disney comes out and actually says one way or another, yes or no, I mean, there's other things that, with like Infinity War 4 coming out and a bunch of other Marvel movies coming out before Guardians 3 was set to come out, we have a lot of time between now and then.
There you go. Yeah. So I think this isn't the end of this story. It's something that we'll continue to follow, and something that we're going to start to follow and then continue to follow in the months leading up to this. This past week, Disney had their earnings call as well, and Disney CEO Bob Iger stated that Disney's new streaming service will debut in late 2019. Now, obviously, this is something that people have known about for a while. Disney is launching their own streaming service similar to Netflix. They've come out and said that it's going to be much cheaper than Netflix. But you got to figure that Disney's going to have so much stuff under their umbrella now with the 20th Century Fox, with all the Marvel movies, with all the Disney properties. And this past week, they announced that they're producing 9 different movies for the streaming service with budgets ranging from $20 to $60 million, titles of which include the remake of Lady and the Tramp, The Sword and the Stone, which is a live-action movie, and Three Men and a Baby, another live-action movie. And then they're also going to have a number of original contents there. Do you see this as being a success and something that's going to garner a lot of interest?
I could see it being very successful. I mean, just based on the standing library alone, even if it was just doing classics and, if it was like stuff that's still in the vault and, that kind of stuff, even if it was that by itself, I'm sure it would do well. They've tried very similar things in the past to mixed results. But if they're going to do their own standalone streaming service, I mean, why not?
Yeah, and I mean, one of the big things that they're kind of banking on here is not only that, but they're also going to be doing a Star Wars live-action series. They're saying that this is going to be I think they said like one of the most expensive live-action series Disney has ever done. Something I'm really looking forward to. And not only that, but they also said they were going to be doing TV show spin-offs for Lady and the Tramp, Monsters, Inc., and High School Musical. Personally speaking, I do wonder, though, if this is a little bit of kind of too much of a good thing when it comes to like a Star Wars live action, or if they're going to be able to pull this off.
I mean, with the Star Wars live action thing, I'm very excited about that. I think it would be great, if you do it, you could do it serialized, kind of almost like Star Trek in a way, where it's, depending on how they go with it. The big theory is that because they've said that it's going to take place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, that it's going to predominantly focus on Mandalore, which is where Boba Fett is from. So there's a lot of talk that if that's were to happen, there's a lot of stuff that they could do around that. or if they just do even like a Star Trek or even like a Firefly type deal where it's
there's a lot of talk. There was something that was there was playback, I think, because I tweeted it and then it automatically popped up. That was like our live view. It's good to know that people can watch directly on our Twitter at Disney 101 Pod, but I tried to X out and somehow popped over there and it immediately started playing. So you're coming twice there. Sorry, you can continue.
That's okay. Like I was saying, even if they do like a Star Trek or like a Firefly type deal where it's just a group of random people trying to just make their way in the galaxy far, far away, that's still, depending on where they go with it, there's a lot of different ways that they could go. So it's very curious to see what's going to happen.
One of the big things, I guess, that people have worried about is because of this, obviously Disney is pulling their properties off of Netflix in order to kind of get this going. So that's begged into question, these series of these Marvel type series that are specific to Netflix, I guess those would be out the window.
Maybe.
Which is, I believe, like there's a bunch that my brother-in-law watches all the time, and I think it's like Daredevil and all those series. Yeah. And I'm assuming those series would. I can't imagine Disney's going to allow those series to continue. So,
well, they haven't really said too much about what is going to get pulled. They've said we're going to stop putting stuff on. So I think they said like either I think maybe Ant-Man or one of the last movies is going to be the last movie to go out onto Netflix. But I don't think that they haven't really said too much about starting to pull things just yet.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that they had basically said was, I believe it's starting with the live action. I want to say maybe starting with the live action Dumbo. That is not going to be put on Netflix.
Yeah.
And there was a list of the upcoming movies just next year. This is just next year that Disney's going to be the idea is to kind of premiere next year for Disney. It's going to be Dumbo. It's going to be Avengers 4. It's going to be Captain Marvel. Actually, they're starting with Captain Marvel. I take that back. Captain Marvel's the first one they're going to do it with. Toy Story 4, Lion King, Jungle Cruise, Artemis Fowl, Star Wars Episode 6, and Frozen 2. Those will all be premiering next year from Disney and will not be a part of the Netflix rollout there.
Which, I mean, on the one hand, a lot of people are probably going to be saying, well, it's just one more thing to pay for and, one more streaming service to pay for and that kind of thing. But, if they're going to bring out and roll out quality content, that would, be comparable to other Netflix series, I don't see why not, especially with more and more people cutting the cord with cable.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I think streaming services are definitely the way of the future. It makes sense for Disney to get in the game when they have so much content, and it'll be interesting to see. But we're going to be circling back now. We do have the entire full list of special photo ops, character meet and greets, and more for Photopass Day 2018. And Steve, you said that was when?
That is, I believe, 10 days from now on August 19th.
August 19th, yeah. And so this goes throughout here. So they have something for Disney Springs. They have obviously the 4 different parks they have something for. And they even, I believe there's opportunities down in Disneyland, yes, in California Adventure, and as well as Disneyland, where they're going to have different types of meet and greets with folks that you normally can't, characters you normally would not see in Disney, something that I think Disney should. I feel like this is such a great idea. It's the first time, honest to God, it's the first time I've heard of this. So the idea that they're promoting that you're going to have this opportunity to get your photo op with this character on this specific day from this time to this time should be something they should do all year round. And I think they'd get, it would kind of help with line control, and it would help with kind of the amount of folks that would be all over if they had a number of these throughout the year.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then it wouldn't be as special. A few years ago, they had during one of the promotional time, every year they would have a different promotional, theme for the year. And there was one year where they had a long lost friends week where they brought out some, characters that you don't see really, like Robin Hood and Darkwing Duck and, Launchpad and that kind of thing. So it was really cool to be able to get a chance to meet people, meet characters that not everyone has met. But I will say also, if you are ever in the Epcot area, every so often they will There will be some very random characters to meet and greet. Um, I won't really go into why, but basically, you can see very random characters both at the International Gateway, which is at that little shop off of the bridge in between France and the United Kingdom, and also at the World Showplace, which is that little kind of there's a special events corridor in between Canada and the United Kingdom, and then also the uh, kind of by the gate in between Italy and the American Adventure Pavilion. So those are three different areas where you always kind of, if you're walking by and are interested in meeting characters, you always want to kind of keep an eye out because every so often there will be some very random and very either unique or hard to find characters.
Yeah, that's very, yeah. I mean, I know one of our Twitter followers actually at Chris Loves Disney World Adventures posted some really cool photos that they currently have now at the Photopass studio inside of Disney Springs. Some great family shots there. Inside of like, if they could basically make it look like you're inside of the Haunted Mansion there. And Photopass Studio is something that is really cool. And some of the things they're rolling out, you're going to be able to do a Peter Pan shadow magic shot, which will be between the Lego store and World of Disney. You'll be able to do an original selfie magic shot outside of the Disney Photopass Studio, and then a special balloons virtual background at the Disney Photopass Studio. Have you been to the Photopass Studio?
I haven't taken part of it. I have been in the area and I've kind of poked my head in, and it's really cool. It's basically like a throwback to your favorite Sears Portrait Studio, or any other kind of portrait studio, but of course Disney. And I mean, they do a great job. There was something very similar in the gift shop of Journey into Imagination with Figment. I believe it's still there. But it's a little bit, it's a little bit more, I guess, structured, you could say.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool, though. So I'm going to run through a couple of these things, though. I'm not going to go through everything. There is a couple of different great photo opportunities, though. I'd really suggest you take a look at the article that was posted by WDW News Today, WDW, I guess, NT.com. So I'm not going to get into some of like the props and just the different shots that are there, but there is some really cool stuff. But I am going to get to the character experiences just because I think these are really cool. In Animal Kingdom, you've got Bolt. He's going to be at the Discovery Island Trails from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then you've also got Baloo and King Louie. Now, Baloo and King Louie, those guys are around most of the time, right?
Yes, yeah, they are.
Bolt seems relatively new.
Bolt, yeah, Bolt. I haven't ever heard of being able to meet and greet with Bolt.
Of course, Bolt from my favorite Disney movie.
Bolt.
Oh, there you guys. I was completely wondering who that was.
The classic Disney movie with Miley Cyrus and John Travolta as the two leads.
Was that what it was called? That's where that's from?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I gotta check out Bolt now. That's pretty.
It's actually a really good movie. It's one of those movies that we actually we only watch on the cruise because on the cruises there's not really a lot of channels if you're hanging out in your stateroom. So the TV will put it on at night, kind of to wind down. And there's a couple of different Disney movie channels that'll just replay a bunch of Disney movies. And one of their favorites to play is Bolt. So we won't watch it. I don't even think we own it on DVD or anything, but we'll always watch it on the cruise without fail.
We'll definitely at some point have to do a couple different shows just to hear about these different cruises that you've been on, because I know those are experiences to say the least. So, but that sounds. They also have here at Disney Hollywood Studios, you can meet Jawas from Star Wars at the Star Wars Launch Bay Katina from 9 a.m. to.
Jawas.
Well, who is it?
Jawas.
That's what I said.
You said Jawas.
Yeah, I've seen Star Wars a million times. I have no idea who Jawas is. Is this like who is Jawas?
It's the little guys in the hoods on Tatooine that sell R2-D2 to Luke Skywalker's uncle and aunt.
So you can take the photo up, but that's pretty cool.
The little kid, yeah, they're Jawas. They're not Jawas.
Sorry.
You're putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Well, some of these things that are pretty cool. So just the magic, couple of the magic shots. I said I wasn't going to get into too many of them, but you can take a green army man magic shot. right near Toy Story Land as well in Hollywood Studios. That looks pretty good, and I'd say definitely take a look at that. Now that I'm looking at the picture they have here, I now see Jawas. I know who you're talking about.
Okay, good.
That'll be a pretty cool. That'll be a pretty cool. I don't know how they're gonna do that. That'll be pretty cool though.
Yeah. Well, they have them as meet and greet characters, so.
What's that?
They have them as meet and greet characters.
Oh. Well, so I guess it's not like too different of an experience then.
I mean, they don't come out they used to come out a lot when they would do like Star Wars weekends and you know, the May the 4th be with you and that kind of thing. But, you know, so they're uncommon in that you can't get them every day, but they used to be more common.
Gotcha. Okay. Now we'll move on to Epcot here. So Epcot has two really cool ones. They have Meet Cruella de Vil in the United Kingdom Pavilion from 9 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and Meet Jafar at the Moroccan Pavilion from 11:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Man, I booked the wrong month to come down to Disney because I would have loved to meet Jafar. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I mean Jafar is really he's one of the interesting characters because if you look at the picture of him on the Disney Parks blog, it almost looks like he's kind of half of a face character and half, I guess, you kind of like call him like a furry character. Basically, the ones that are still humans, but they have some other sort of mask or something on them where like it's not a true face character. And it almost looks like he's half and half, which is kind of weird because when he's on the parade, he's just a straight, like, non-face character.
Right. Yeah, I see the photo here. He looks like the stuff of nightmares. It might be better that I'm not heading down. He does look very creepy. Cruella de Vil is very cool, too. They haven't had her in a long time. Then they have Magic Kingdom Park. Well, I should also point out they have a very cool magic shop with Baby Groot where he's basically like right in your hand. That one looks really cool as well. And honestly, I feel like that's almost better than we did the Star-Lord and Groot meet and greet at the last one, character experience, and I thought that was kind of, people were there more for Groot, so I feel like this magic shot is pretty cool as well, and I think this might even be a better way to have Groot if they're not going to have Teenage Groot, which I feel like they should have Teenage Groot, and he should be on his Game Boy the entire time and just blowing people off right and left, not looking like he cares to be there. But nonetheless, I think this is a good way to do Baby Groot. Magic Kingdom, you're getting Pinocchio and Geppetto, who I feel like years ago when I went there, Geppetto was there, but those guys really haven't been around recently.
They're in the parade, but they don't usually do meet and greets now. Gotcha.
Alrighty, and then just to go into, let's see here. Oh, okay, they also have a very cool, they do have some really cool magic shots as well that I really suggest checking out. But Disney California Adventure Park also has some great ones. Their character experiences. First is Joy and Sadness, who we get as permanent character experiences in Orlando at Epcot, I believe, right?
Where is that?
Joy and Sadness?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're there. They're going to be at California Adventure Park. They're also going to have Doctor Strange or Loki, Heroic Encounter, which sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that those are. I mean, I think they usually have some Marvel characters. You know, we can't over here on the East Coast, but they usually have a fairly good rotation of Marvel characters.
Is that Stella here in the background? Stella, say hello.
It sure is.
And then at Disneyland Park, just to kind of close things out, they have Meet Hook and Mr. Smee, an awesome dose of meet and character experiences there. And then Meet Marie in Toon Park in Mickey's Toontown. I feel like you're going to tell me who Marie is, and I'm going to be blown away and want to get down to California to see who that is.
How big of a fan of Aristocats are you? Clearly not very.
Okay, I'll take that back. I need to but nonetheless, I always appreciate that Mickey's Toontown brings back your characters like, obviously, Roger Rabbit's down there. It's escaping the name of me. The roller coaster they have after the Rescue Rangers' cousin, who for some reason I'm losing the name right now.
So first off, no, but Gadget is her name.
Gadget. She's not the cousin of the Rescue Rangers?
No, she's a mouse, and the
Oh,
other one's a
or
chipmunk.
chipmunks. I knew that. I don't know why I thought that she was their cousin. Would have made for an interesting storyline, but in any event, it's a family.
Interesting, yeah.
All right. Well, so that's that. I think that sounds awesome. It's really cool to have different types of character experiences. And if you're going down there on August the 19th, plan ahead. You guys just got the entire thing. That's 2 weeks from today. So plan ahead. Make sure you guys you have that entire list, and check out again the article on wdwnt.com. All right. One last thing we want to get to before we get to our main crux and our main storyline for this, I guess, the theme of this episode. Next Friday, they are going to be launching the Halloween 2018 at the Disney parks. Steve, have you ever had any experiences with the Halloween?
Yes, I have. Yeah, we've had an opportunity to go the last couple of years, which has been awesome. The full name, of course, is Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Which means, of course, it is at Walt Disney World. So it is a Halloween party that is geared towards the kids, the young and the young at heart. And I'll tell you, it is a really great experience. It's really cool, especially if you're into Halloween as much as I am. I got this actually from last year, the 2017.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Halloween Party Award for such an occasion. The Halloween party, it's great for a whole bunch of reasons. Number one, if you're coming down here on vacation, you can kind of pencil in Magic Kingdom as its own day to go. You can go to the Halloween party and you have to buy your own separate ticket, whether you're an annual pass holder or a Disney cast member, whoever you are, you have to buy your own. It's a separate ticketed event for the Halloween party. But with that separate Halloween party ticket, you can start getting into the park as early as 4 p.m., which means the party starts at 7, but you have a whole 3 hours to go, and you can start riding other rides and do other kind of non-party stuff. And usually on these days that the Halloween parties occur, the park attendance is usually on the lower side. For mostly just because most people know that the park closes at 7, so it's kind of an early day. So if you're here on vacation and don't plan on going to the Halloween parties, usually it's one of those things where maybe if you have a park hopper ticket, you go early in the morning to Magic Kingdom, but then you kind of plan to be in a different park at night because you have to have your own separate ticket to go to the Halloween party. And if you've ever experienced the park clear for a Halloween party, it's kind of cool. Basically, the cast members start at the kind of the end points or like the furthest parts of the park. When I worked in Tomorrowland, we would start at Space Mountain, and then you'd just kind of say, okay, at 7 o'clock, we're going to start moving forward. And it was almost like a net where, you'd have to make sure that anyone that was walking past you had the special wristband for that night. And if they did, you just let them go. And then if they didn't, you'd have to kind of very politely ask them to just not go here and turn around. And eventually people are kind of slowly funneled towards the exit so that at 7 o'clock, all of the good Halloween party festivities can start.
Very cool. That sounds awesome. And I mean, we've never been down to the actual Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, but last year around Halloween, we did go down to Disneyland Paris, a random trip that my wife surprised me for our 5-year anniversary, which I guess now is null and void now that we've gotten married. I guess now it's, we're back to 4 or 5 months again. But, we'll start it up again. But we did get down to Disneyland Paris and got down there for some of the Halloween stuff. They had a variety of kind of like really, really cool meet and greets with character experiences, rather. I believe Jack Skellington was down there. And earlier in the day, my personal favorite, the Villain Parade. And I do have the Villain Parade on, I actually have the Villain Parade, a little video of that I will put up on our official YouTube page, the same page you're watching right now. And for the folks who are watching right now, we mentioned last week we were going to put up our video from Raglan Road. I'm not even sure if Steve knows this, but earlier today, we uploaded our video from Raglan Road, where myself... Did you see the video?
Yeah, of course.
It's a little dark, but we totally may or may not have seen the video. But I put it today. It's a little dark, but honestly, I think it's pretty cool. Just my personal first trip to Raglan Road. heard about it for a long time, and good to go down there. So in the upcoming weeks, in celebration of the launch of Halloween 2018 in the Disney parks, I will put up the video of the villain parade from last year's trip down to Disneyland Paris. So
yeah, and I mean, we don't have the villains parade per se at the Halloween party here at the Magic Kingdom, but we do have my wife's favorite parade, the Boo to You parade. And it's a really great, and it's another thing where the characters that you normally see are still in their own Halloween costumes, which is really fun. And then you also get a lot of other parade characters that you don't normally see, and the entertainers, the non-characters, I guess you could say. The regular like singers and dancers that are there are in their own special theming for each section, and you do see a lot of other characters in the parade that you don't normally see. And that's also true for the Halloween party in general. There's a lot of other meet and greet opportunities, like Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. The Seven Dwarfs are out. There's a lot of other different characters that are out and about for Halloween parties that aren't there normally. So if you're into meeting characters, I definitely recommend the Halloween party. Of course, it wouldn't be Halloween without trick or treating as well. So there are a lot of different pathways that you can take. There are trick or treating paths that they have set up that are spaced all around the park, where you just go, and especially if the cast member really likes your costume, they'll just go at it. And there's no limit to how much candy you can get, if that's also a big thing that you want to do. Also, as a side note, if you have any sort of severe allergies, like my wife has a really bad gluten allergy, or if it's peanuts or whatever the case is, they also have their own designated allergy trick or treat locations where they'll also give you separate allergy friendly candy as well.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Disney continues to do really great stuff, because obviously I've been to the parks with Steve's wife, and it's I try to be somewhat gluten conscious. I don't know that I have the gluten allergy, but certainly it's great to see that Disney's always there with an food allergy menu, letting you know what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, and even for something like that, somebody can still go and enjoy something like Halloween while still being able to be conscious of their allergies at the same time. So that's pretty great. And then something else that I think is pretty great for some folks I know, this is also the one time of the year that adults, if I'm not mistaken, are able to dress up in Halloween garb.
Yes. Yeah. So the big rules for everyone is that there's no masks. It's more of a safety reason than anything else, and also especially, there are some masks that you could get that could probably scare the kids. And again, it's the not so scary Halloween party. So you don't want, Pennywise from It showing up, and you don't want Jason, from like Friday the 13th showing up or anything like that. So they try and keep it, masks to a minimum, as well as it's not that they don't want you to look too much like a Disney character, but if you look too much like a Disney character, then you'll probably also kind of be stopped at the gate for kind of obvious reasons. Number one, is character integrity. There's one Mickey, there's one Minnie, there's one Tinkerbell, there's one Cinderella. You don't want kids getting confused and like, wait, but Mickey's there, but Mickey's down there riding Space Mountain. I don't understand. And on a similar note, they don't want you taking away from the actual characters that are there, because you don't want to be meeting with a fake Cinderella or a fake Jasmine. So, they try and limit that as much as possible. But other than that, adults can go wild.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Did you dress up last year when you went to the party?
Yeah, last year we dressed up as pirates. It's our Halloween costume as pirates.
That's awesome.
They serve double duty as Halloween costumes, and also when we go on the cruises to the Caribbean, there's always a pirate night, so we have our pirate costumes ready to go.
Oh, very, very, very cool. And folks could go over to the Disney Parks blog and check out a very, very cool novelty blog that they put out, novelty guide rather, for all things Halloween 2018, and strongly suggest that. Was there anything that jumped out at you specifically on that novelty guide that you saw?
Yeah, the poison apple glow cube I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they had some really good stuff. I particularly like the Oogie Boogie popcorn bucket. It was pretty awesome to see, and I strongly suggest anyone go out there, take a look, and check out all the really fun stuff they have there, so that you can make sure you know what types of souvenirs and different things you want to get prior to going to the parks during Halloween. But Halloween is definitely a recommended list, and well, I mentioned Disney Paris earlier, and check that off the My Disney bucket list. Halloween is also something, at the parks here, because I didn't think that Disneyland Paris had too much Halloween. They had like one little area of Disneyland Paris that was kind of like tapered off. But I definitely want to try the parks over at try the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
Yeah, and I would say if any of those specialty items like the Oogie Boogie popcorn bucket are on your list, get it as soon as you can, because last year we were able to get that Oogie Boogie popcorn bucket, but it was a struggle to get it because we went to 3 or 4 different popcorn stands and they were either sold out or they said they're going to get more, and then we went back like half hour later, like, oh, it's coming. We found one popcorn stand and we got the last bucket that they had, and then it was going to be it for the night. So if you want a popcorn bucket, if you want any of those other special items, even merchandise, like regular merchandise, like limited edition pins and t-shirts and stuff like that they have, I recommend trying to get that as soon as you can.
Yeah, so that sounds like a really good idea. I always say, if there's anything that you want that's going to make your Disney trip something that is memorable, and you want to go through your Disney trip, you need your Mickey ears. I know for my wife, it was trying to find the Sally ears. Do it when you first get there. Make sure you have that ahead of time, because the last thing in the world you want to do is, make sure we get it on the way out of the Magic Kingdom on our last night. And then let's say they're sold out and now you didn't get the thing that you wanted. So definitely recommend that, and to go from there.
Yeah. But yeah, there are tons of other merchandise opportunities. A lot of other stuff. There are, of course, there's also, you're in the Magic Kingdom, so there's also the attractions that you can go on. There are a couple of attractions this year that actually have different lighting and effects that are going to be going on the rides, like the Mad Tea Party, the Pirates of the Caribbean, and also Space Mountain. So they don't have the Nightmare Before Christmas Halloween themed Haunted Mansion just yet, like they have at Disneyland. But they have the Mad Tea Party, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Space Mountain. They're going to have different Halloween themed lighting and effects, which sounds really cool. And they also have most of the other bigger attractions are also going to be open during the party, which, again, if this is going to be your Magic Kingdom day while you're on vacation, it's still not a bad time to go on these attractions, because a lot of times the wait times for the attractions are a lot lower than on a regular day. Number one, because there's less people in the park, but also number two, because there's so much more to do on a Halloween night than go on the rides that most of the time people just don't. So, but if that's still one of your things, like you really want to go on the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and you never have, or you went last time and there was a huge wait and you didn't feel like cutting most of the line just to get to it, or have your wife and someone wait while you go and cut through everyone, and everyone gives you nasty looks and curses at you.
That's exactly what I did.
No, that would be a good time to go.
I will say, not a good idea to have anybody stand on the line and go wait on the line while you go on another attraction and then go and do that, because you will hear more expletives than you've heard your entire life cutting people on a line at Walt Disney World. Even if you say, I'm sorry, and excuse me to each and every person you go through, you're going to get, quite the mumbling under the breath as you do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the news portion of the show today. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about going on in the world of the news today? We had a really news-heavy portion this week.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, well, what we're going to do now, something that our big kind of theme of this episode is going to be to kind of put together our dream cast for a couple of Disney reboots here. Obviously, Marvel is currently something that Disney has had now for a while, but in their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, they were able to do different things such as, acquire X-Men, acquire Fantastic Four, And so what we're going to do is we're going to put together our kind of dream cast for these particular movies. And Steve, you could totally get started there and go through what you were thinking about. And you're saying these are not a part of the current, right? These are not a part of the Disney Marvel universe, right?
Yeah, well, at least my idea for going into this game, I guess, that we were doing is something that either was already created, by 20th Century Fox or a previous entity that has no place in the Marvel universe right now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, anything that has been touched on or anybody that's been referenced, I kind of didn't want to touch necessarily. So the one that I picked was one that they've already tried twice, and I kind of mentioned it last week, was the Fantastic Four, which I think it's a great property, and it's a property that has been missing during a lot of these other big moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Fantastic Four were very instrumental in Marvel in the Civil War. They were left out of that, as were the X-Men. But the Fantastic Four, they didn't have a place there. They would have had a bigger role in Infinity War. But they just, again, because of the licensing and because of the movie rights and all that stuff, they haven't there. Which, if they want to kind of take this and for Phase 4 and beyond Infinity War 4 that's coming out next year, it would be a great timing to do Fantastic Four again. It's a new property as far as the cinematic universe is concerned. And it's a property that I feel just hasn't been done justice. And I think a lot of people say the same thing. The first two movies that came out were, the first one was okay. The second one dipped a lot. And then the recent reboot with Michael B. Jordan no.
Not a fan.
No. So I think Fantastic Four is due, third time's the charm worked for Spider-Man. So I feel like third time's the charm would hopefully work for Fantastic Four, especially with my lineup that I not so humbly picked. So I'll say first that to me, Fantastic Four, it's really about the dynamic between the main four. So someone that is really great at working with group dynamics on film is Joss Whedon, and I would love to see a Joss Whedon written and directed version of Fantastic Four.
There you go.
If you're bringing Joss Whedon in, then I would definitely say you bring in Nathan Fillion, who he was Captain Mal on Firefly. He was on Castle. He's been in a couple of other Whedon-helmed projects. So put Nathan Fillion as Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. I think he's just just about the right age for it, and he has a great mix of intelligence and sarcasm and wit to go along with it. So I think he would be great for Mr. Fantastic. Next up would be Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, and I think Kate McKinnon would be great from Saturday Night Live. I think just because I love her, so she I think would be a great fit. The next one is kind of I'm not gonna lie, I stole this from a different blog, but Pedro Pascal, who played Oberyn Martell on Game of Thrones,
okay.
As Johnny Storm, because he just has that charisma and that scene-stealing nature, and I think that you put him in this kind of charismatic, hot-headed person, that was Oberyn Martell to a T. So I think I definitely agree with that. He would be great as Johnny Storm, as the Human Torch. And then
what was the blog that you saw
I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, hopefully
Sorry.
whoever wrote that blog. If you wrote that blog, let us know in the comment section below.
Yes.
So I can go ahead and give you credit next week at the top of the show.
But my personal favorite from these four picks would be Terry Crews as Ben Grimm as the Thing.
I like that one a lot, actually.
Yeah, so that's my. I went back and forth with a couple of different people as far as who could play, if they decide to go with Doctor Doom as the main villain, which they have the past couple of times. I went back and forth with a couple of different people. I'm not sure about who would play Doctor Doom. just because one, there's you're starting to run out of, especially big name actors. You're starting to run out of big name actors that haven't already appeared in the Marvel universe. But if you want to go with a little bit of a different route, someone that's worked Disney before, someone that's worked Joss Whedon before, I just throw it out there and have Neil Patrick Harris be Doctor Doom, because I think it would just be a ridiculous.
Would be awesome. That would be very, very cool. Well, hopefully they do reboot it and they do a good job in kind of getting, because that really is a series that should do much better than it has in the past, and I think is something that people are really excited about. It was one of the big things. I mean, everyone talked about X-Men, but I think right after that it was, hey, now they could finally get Fantastic Four right. And I like kind of some of the things you said there.
All right. So what about you?
All right. So for me, I attempted to do X-Men here. There's a lot that goes into X-Men. I don't know if there's certain characters, but for me personally, when that first X-Men came out, I thought it was missing certain characters that I thought they needed to establish. So I'm going to kind of get into the different characters there. I think that starting, I guess, with Professor Charles Xavier, obviously he is a big one. And right off the bat, I feel like somebody like Michael Caine would do a great job in playing Charles Xavier. I honestly feel like Patrick Stewart was phenomenal in the role. It's going to be a tough one to reboot. If they could somehow pull him back into it, that would be great. But I think Michael Caine would do a good job in that Professor X role.
I think that would be interesting to see. I mean, he's done, he was in Batman, so he's no stranger to comic book movies. But with James McAvoy, it was enough of a diversion from Patrick Stewart where he's just one of those people that it's like that role was almost made for him. Like, it's hard to picture, anybody but Hugh Jackman play Wolverine. It's hard to imagine anybody but Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool.
True.
So Professor X, it's one of those where it's like you have to you have to do what they did with First Class and do a young James McAvoy as young Charles Xavier, or you find a way to bring Patrick Stewart back.
Yeah, I think that is the way that they can kind of do that. Though I do think though that if you were looking kind of for Michael Caine's foil and you were looking for somebody to come in and play Magneto, I would go kind of two different ways with it. I would either go with Gary Oldman. I think he can do a really good job, from The Darkest Hour. I think he would do really well in the role. And I also think Liam Neeson could do a really good job. Liam Neeson is a hero in so many movies that I feel like seeing him as a big villain for me would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see kind of if he could pull it off. But I think he could. I think he's a phenomenal actor. So those are kind of the two ways I'd go with that.
So basically, you're just pulling everyone from the Batman Begins Dark Knight universe, and you're just going to bring them all in.
Was Liam Neeson in that?
Yeah, Liam Neeson was in the first. He was in Batman Begins. He played Ra's al Ghul. He played the main antagonist in Batman Begins. Yeah, but to that point, Liam Neeson and Gary Oldman are both very phenomenal actors, and they're two actors where they get lost in their roles, and it's hard to pick out, especially Gary Oldman. He's played such diverse characters and such diverse roles where he could get lost in any character that you throw him into.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking for a Wolverine here, I don't know if at this point this guy is like so I don't know if maybe we're looking for. I always think of like Hugh Jackman. He's a little bit older, so like for some reason now the role of Wolverine I feel like should be someone maybe a little bit older as well. So with that being said, originally when I was putting this together, I was like, if we were going for somebody who can be considered like a little younger, I would actually think of maybe bringing back Rob Pattinson from the Twilight series, which I'm sure you're going to roll your eyes and puke on. But no, not so much.
I mean, he's not a bad actor, I mean, you see him in anything except for Twilight, and he's not a bad actor. My favorite stories about Robert Pattinson is about how much he hated the character that he played in Twilight, and how much he hated Edward Cullen, and how much he hated the movies. So, I mean, that, I give him a little bit of credit for still sticking it through, but I think it would be That's definitely an interesting choice.
And then I'd say the other choice I had for it was Russell Crowe. I feel like Russell Crowe is he's phenomenal in that, you know, he looks like the type of guy that's like a little rugged, so you know almost that maybe he's not as charming and clean cut as this big like hero is supposed to be. But I always kind of saw a little of Wolverine in Russell Crowe, so I feel like if you're going to go with somebody who's a little bit older and you want to stick with that for the role, Russell Crowe wouldn't be a bad option either.
I feel like Russell Crowe is a little bit too, you know, you're going with another Australian actor, you know, that just like Hugh Jackman. So I think people would say, well, you're trying to do a little bit too much, you know, you're trying to, I feel like Wolverine, when you're going with that, you have to, again, you have to pick someone that is going to be completely different than who is currently playing him. When you go with someone that's kind of sort of like Hugh Jackman, then you're saying, okay, well, we couldn't get Hugh Jackman to do it. We didn't want him. So here's the next best thing. You kind of want to go with someone that's going to be, here's our vision of someone that's going to be completely different. And I would say go with like, someone that's not, that you wouldn't necessarily think of saying, oh, this is who I think of when I think of Wolverine.
Right, I do. I can see what you're saying there. People might be like, wait a second, they couldn't get Hugh Jackman to come and do his thing this year. So they tried to find any other Australian actor who's known, and that's why they went with Russell Crowe. If you were looking for somebody to play Wolverine, who would you choose?
Ooh, it's a good question. My problem is going back to I can't see anyone but Hugh Jackman playing him. You know, if you're gonna go like someone that's a little bit younger, I don't know why, but maybe it's because he was next to Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. Maybe Zac Efron. Why not?
I will say that Zac Efron has a pretty good. He's been good in some of these comedy roles that I've seen him in. I saw him in Neighbors, seen him in Baywatch. Not much good you could say about Baywatch, but I thought Zac Efron did a pretty good job in it. So why not him? That's not bad. Continuing down my list of people, you know, Cyclops. You've got to have somebody. Cyclops is the cool guy. Cyclops is somebody that you want to You want to kind of cast somebody who's kind of up and coming in Hollywood. And so for me, I decided to go with, well, John Cena action. I mean, John Cena, he's basically been in a whole bunch of movies coming forward. I mean, right now he's heavily involved in the Transformers series. He's going to be, I believe, the voice of Bumblebee. He might actually just be the role of Bumblebee in that movie. But I feel like John Cena, for whatever reason, when I see John Cena, and I don't know if it was like just from way back in the day of his early days, he kind of has a little bit of a Cyclops vibe.
I can see that because also the other thing about Cyclops is he's kind of a jerk. Like he's not he tries his very hardest to be a clean cut by the books guy, but he's that kind of jockey preppy, like, you know, he's clean cut and he walks around like he's better than everyone else, but like he's kind of a jerk sometimes. So I think John Cena's character in WWE kind of sort of, yeah, I could see that.
And what I will say is in most of the movies I've seen John Cena in, he's playing the character of John Cena in WWE in those roles. So, that's kind of where I went with him. Continuing on the list, one of the characters that was not in the original kind of series of X-Men was Gambit, and I always liked Gambit. I know they're in the process right now. Channing Tatum is playing Gambit now, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I don't know what's going to happen with that movie, but if I was kind of recasting this, I'd go with Justin Hartley from This Is Us, and it might just be because I'm a huge fan of This Is Us. I am no shame whatsoever in that. I feel like Justin Hartley does a great job on that show. So that's kind of where I'd go with that particular role. I think Justin Hartley comes across as kind of a little mysterious and kind of that classic cool guy. And then for the role of Beast, I'm giving it to someone who might not have any roles in Hollywood, but when I think of Beast, I think of J.J. Watt over in the Houston Texans, and I think that's why I'd go with my role for Beast. I think he'd do a really good job with it.
I would almost say J.J. Watt would be a better Gambit. almost because he walks with a little bit more of a swagger, get as long as he can pull off that Cajun accent, because you have to have the Cajun accent. But I think JJ Watt almost would be a better Gambit with like the kind of, the toughness and the swagger that he has.
There you go. Continuing on my list, in looking for some of the female cast members there, in looking for the role of Storm, I was torn between the two. I feel like you want to make this a major blockbuster, you go with Beyonce. If Beyonce right now is a little too prim and proper, then I think Rihanna would be somebody who would do really well in the role. I think Rihanna has a little bit of an edge to her, and I think she'd make for a good Storm.
Okay.
Steve's not going to watch my premiere of X-Men at all. With John Cena and Rihanna starring in that one, I'll be taking a big pass on that one. In looking at Dr. Jean Grey, I know that Famke Janssen played her originally. I'd kind of go with. Sorry, I had this listed here. I'd kind of go with Gwyneth Paltrow for that role. But Gwyneth Paltrow is already in another Marvel movie, right? So it's hard to have her. Well, she's in with Iron Man, right?
Yeah, she's Pepper Potts, so she has a pretty big role already. Yeah, it would be kind of hard to say, oh no, she's not Pepper Potts anymore. She is this other character.
All right, well then, how about Uma Thurman for Dr. Jean Grey?
That wouldn't be bad.
Would do well. Uma Thurman, she hasn't had any role, to the best of my knowledge, in the Marvel universe. So how about her? Then, if you're looking for someone to play the role of Mystique, I go with Mila Kunis, who's one of my personal favorites in all of Hollywood. I think she's absolutely stunning, and I think she'd do a great job as Mystique. And so that's who I'd give the role to there.
You just want to see her in blue body paint. That's what it really is.
What's that?
You just want to see her in blue body paint. That's what it really is.
Oh, you might be right about that. All right. can't hate on that.
See, if I think actually thinking about it, I might push those back. I think actually Uma Thurman would be a little bit better as Mystique.
Okay.
And then you could give Mila Kunis Rogue.
There you go. Okay, I like that. Yeah, I think she would. My Rogue was going to be Anna Kendrick, just because I think Anna Kendrick is super cute and she kind of does things like that. So that was kind of my role there. And that was who I had. I feel like you got to establish your two. Was there any major character of X-Men I left out?
I mean, it really depends which X-Men you're like. If you're going with the original movies versus the comics, because, or like the '90s TV show, because the '90s TV show was all about Jubilee, and Jubilee has basically had a bit point in she's basically an afterthought or a cameo most of the time. So, if you want to throw in Jubilee somewhere, you could, or also Nightcrawler is kind of also he was big in the '90s show. He was big in the revamped 2000s X-Men TV show. So it kind of really depends which X-Men which number one with which generation you go with, and which itineration and which storyline you go with, because I don't necessarily know if, especially if the last X-Men movie is going to come out, if they do another reboot after that, if we need another Dark Phoenix saga, it's going to be it's basically every single X-Men movie leads up to the Phoenix saga.
There you go. Well, that's basically all I got there for my specific one, just because I remember going to the movies and seeing and being like, oh, I can't wait to see Beast. I can't wait to see Gambit. So those are my two guys that weren't in it. And I'm glad that Gambit is getting a spot now, but who knows if it's gonna come through. Originally, also, I had Sabretooth. I didn't want to go too wrestling heavy, but I thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Sabretooth would be something really cool. That being said, I feel like whatever The Rock is in, or Dwayne Johnson's in, he kind of takes over everything. So I don't know if we want Sabretooth to be the star of X-Men.
And Sabretooth he's more of just the first Sabretooth that they had was, I think, a little bit truer to, the 90s Sabretooth versus the Sabretooth that they went with in the rebooted one. And I'm blanking on the actor's name right now.
That wasn't Tyler Mane, right? He was in the original.
No, Tyler Mane was the original, was in the original X-Men movie. Wow, I'm blanking. Now I have to look it up because I am totally blanking, and it's an actor that I actually really enjoy.
Well, I will say it's pretty interesting that, like, so in the original, you said in the original Fantastic Four, Michael B. Johnson was in that?
In the reboot.
Oh, okay. And now, obviously, he's in Black Panther, and he's, like,
Right.
the biggest star. He's one of the biggest stars, like, in all of Hollywood right now. So it's always interesting, like, because isn't Chris Evans also in one of the Fantastic Four?
He was in the original, yeah. He was in the original too, also. So he was the Human Torch. So I mean, but again, it's not the first time that they've brought in an actor that was originally, in one of the other Marvel not connected cinematic universe movies, and then remade it, and then now he's this huge star. So I mean, I really like that they do that.
Yeah, it's. I remember people were really upset when originally Chris Evans was named for Captain America because he was already the Human Torch. But he's done great in Captain America, and I mean, hey, there's nothing that says they can't use any of the big stars. One of the people I thought of for Gambit was actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt would be a good Gambit, but obviously right now he's so involved now with, obviously, I don't know if he's still Robin, but I do know he is going to be a part of the continuation of the Batman series. And so because he's there, it's like, do you then not have him kind of flip over from there? So it's tough to kind of do that.
Liev Schreiber, that's his name. That's who did the other. He was Victor Creed.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's all I had for this thing, but I made for some good conversation there. Got to give Steve the old attaboy on that. That was his decision there and his suggestion to go ahead and come up with those Dreamcasts there. We do have a couple of different ideas that we are tossing around for next week. We haven't finalized anything yet. Steve, did you have anything on your mind for next week?
The big thing that I wanted to do was because the Food and Wine Festival is coming up at the end of the month, actually. So I kind of wanted to do a Food and Wine Festival primer for everyone.
I got to give you guys a little bit of a kind of behind the scenes here of Disney 101. So when originally we talked about this, Steve was like, hey, we should go through and do the Halloween. We should do a little bit about Halloween. And I was immediately like, oh, wouldn't that make more sense to do it a little bit like closer to Halloween, right? So that people could prepare. And he was right there to let me know, no, they actually start that next week. So it's always good that Steve is all set and ready to go there. And I think that sounds like an awesome idea. Food and Wine Festival, another one on my bucket list. So we'll definitely do a Food and Wine Festival primer next week. And either next week or sometime soon, we're also going to try to do something called the Don'ts of Disney World. If you're heading down to WDW, there's some things you don't want to do when you're planning for your trip. We're going to get into all of that as well. But is there anything else you have to add, Steve?
No, I'm all good for tonight.
All right, well, please do give us a subscribe button if you are watching this video here. I just got an awesome extreme close-up of Steve there. I'm not sure what happened. But if you do get a chance, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like, let us know what you think in the comment section below, and hit us up on Twitter at Disney101pod. We're trying to create a community for all folks. There's a lot of talented Disney bloggers out there, a lot of talented folks who do Disney YouTube videos. So we'll be giving you a shout-out on Follow Friday tomorrow. And we'll be trying to kind of start that follow train and continue to expand. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback on Twitter. I can't thank you guys enough for following us on there. So that is the best way to communicate with us, at Disney101pod. You can also talk to myself at Tommy on the Spot. If you're looking for something to do, you can come back on here and chat with me about wrestling for 3 hours and 45 minutes. I'm starting another podcast for 3 hours. We'll be up till 1 a.m. sitting in this chair. So if you get a chance, come through, and we'll have a very good time over on the Watch Along Wrestling podcast. If not, though, we will see you guys next week. Steve, you can go out. You could give your plugs as well.
The only plug that I would say is my Twitter is SteveCJ556 and Instagram is millennial_Falcon27.
I love that Instagram name. I will have to come up with one sometime soon as well, at least to chat with the folks. Even if mine is currently kind of under hostage right now, and still locked down, we will eventually we'll do something on there on the Instagram. But that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out, and we will see you guys again next week on Disney 101. Until then, take care.